Everyone thinks that Omni-Man vs. Homelander would be an epic fight between two mighty superheroes, but it's not even close. And today, I'm going to break down every reason why the fight's over before it even really begins. Before I tell you why it isn't even close, we need to learn who exactly we're dealing with, starting with Omni-Man. Nolan Grayson was born on the planet Viltrum, not revealed until later on in the show, but Nolan, or Nolan, is the son of the deposed ruler of Viltrum Argal. Growing up, he'd be an active participant in the conquering of planets in the name of the Viltrum Empire, an empire of superpowered aliens who quest to dominate planets and rebuild their species.
I am from Viltrum. By the time I was born, Viltrum was already the greatest empire in our galaxy. We decided to make it the only empire in our galaxy.
Eventually, this conquest would lead him on an adventure to Earth where he would find himself beginning to live amongst the humans in a goal to one day conquer their world. Working in tandem with Cecil Stedman and the Guardians of the Globe, he'd adopt the name Omni-Man and begin to serve as Earth's protector. Nolan himself, by the point of serving as Earth's protector, was somewhere over 2,000 years old. One of the older Viltrumites, that would mean he gets the honor of being one of the stronger Viltrumites. Coupled with King Argal's royal blood in his veins, that makes him one of the more genetically powerful Viltrumites. He's quite the guy. As Omni-Man, Nolan would go on to exert his impressive power set and take down the various villains Earth has to offer. You see, Viltrumites have an impressive set of powers from the get-go. No special event, no sun rays, and no special serum grants them these powers. Nolan possesses super strength, super speed, flight, nigh invulnerability, a healing factor, and he can endure space travel, which means his lung capacity must be insane. He's no slouch, as he has tended to take on fights where he is at a disadvantage, most notably for TV viewers on the fight on Thraxon that saw Nolan fighting on the back foot against several Viltrumite warriors, and only falling because he had Mark and Oliver to sweat about.
Mark, what are you doing? She's tearing you apart! You're fighting like you're on Earth. Stop holding back, or you're gonna get us both killed.
I have come to realize that he's very good when it comes to strategizing. He is a warrior, and when push finally came to shove, he was a hero. While he may not have laser eyes, Omni-Man is a monster combatant whose only real fear are the Viltrumites stronger than him, or the weaknesses his people have. While I've laid out Omni-Man for ya, don't forget that it takes two to tango. Next, I have to tell you about Homelander. The Homelander is by and large the example of what happens in a world where superheroism becomes commercialized thanks to that of Compound V. Within the universe of The Boys, Compound V is the secret sauce to superheroes, as heroes are not born. They are created.
Superheroes are not born, but made. In fact, created by a chemical serum, Compound V.
In Homelander's case, there are two different versions of his origin. Through questionable and unethical means thanks to the Vought Corporation, whether the comic's origin of being injected with Compound V as an embryo, or the TV version which sees him born thanks to his father Soldier Boy. For the case of our matchup, I'll be utilizing the television version of Homelander. Anthony Starr is quite the actor in the role, may I say. Homelander spent his life being tested upon and experimented on by Vought scientists such as Jonah Vogelbaum, wanting to craft both a ruthless and efficient soup as well as an extremely patriotic one. I mean, one minute he could be burning in that hot box of his, and the next he'd be showed Bald Eagles or Soldier Boy movies. What we are left with is a mentally fragile hero seeking both approval and total domination. He is one of the most, for lack of a better term, diabolical heroes in all of The Boys.
Holy that was diabolical!
As the Homelander, John would be the United States' most recognizable hero, going on to fight bad guys, in many situations fighting much more realistic bad guys like threats to the state. The Homelander has only ever found himself tested physically in very particular situations. Within the show, he would find himself physically matched by Soldier Boy and a super powered up Billy Butcher. In the comics, it was the genetic clone of himself, Black Noir, that served as Homelander's physical equal. Other than both cases, there hasn't really been a depiction where Homelander finds himself physically tested, as long as we don't include like Mortal Kombat. He has the super strength, super speed, super hearing, laser vision, and a general durability that most would expect him to have. Though he is no born warrior, and even if he had training, the years of complacency and being the strongest being in his universe wouldn't really let any hand-to-hand combat training stick. Homelander just tends to be the strongest, and his ego adds to that mindset.
I don't make mistakes. I'm not just like the rest of you. I'm stronger, I'm smarter, I'm better, I am better!
The thing in Homelander's case is he is based in this reality of what if superheroes were a realistic setting, a world where big business is looking to commodify the superhero brand. So a lot of what he boils down to is a fragile ego and untrained man with the powers of a god. Though he's not a god, just a man on top, but he isn't alone. One more important piece of Homelander's role in the Boys universe. A lot of the more vitriol soups would do whatever it takes to appease John, whether it's because they would want to gain favor with him or because they are fearful of him. Homelander does not usually work alone. Homelander is the leader of his own superhero team, that of the Seven. He isn't exactly rolling around alone all the time. Flanked by several supers to bolster his power, Homelander is a pretend leader with people who will die for him. In any case, both men are strong and capable characters. Omni-Man spent an unspecified amount of time decimating Planet Flaxen, he had to fight at a disadvantage against a couple Viltrumites, and has bodied our lead Mark Grayson. Realistically, he is the betting favorite, but it could go either way. Homelander, on the other hand, has managed to hold his own in a 3-on-1 confrontation.
You think you look strong? You're wearing a cape. You're just a cheap knockoff.
He has also managed to repel the likes of Queen Maeve, who had also come across as viciously strong. Though he does not have the pure feats that Omni-Man does, and to be fair, that is expected. Omni-Man has been around for a lot more breathing time than Homelander. When the plane was crashing, there was an implication. Omni-Man wouldn't have been strong enough to give it a safe and simple landing. Interesting. The stage is set though, and now I think it's time for our main event. Homelander versus Omni-Man. Now, how would this go down in a real hard-hitting slugfest? Omni-Man is very clearly the heavy favorite. He has shown superior feats of strength and stamina than Homelander. He has the most impressive physiology, as he can even commit to space travel. He has gone as far as to slam himself through a planet in an attempt to destroy it.
You don't seem to understand. Earth isn't yours to conquer.
Omni-Man is the total package and the favorite here, but does Homelander have a shot? In a contest to see which one would win the fight, we have to look at the many different instances. My goal is to cover the likes of a clean one-on-one fight, but I won't stop there. Both men aren't always squeaky clean, and someone has to account for that as well, which is why I'm here. Homelander versus Omni-Man in a clean and fair fight is something people have been discussing for a while now, and for good reason. Both are that evil Superman trope. In a world where they fight it out, though, it would be hard-hitting, and most prominently, it would be dangerous. Omni-Man and his clear belief in being the superior being would see him try to ragdoll Homelander, but when push comes to shove and the patriotic hero has to act, he wouldn't make it easy. There would be a vicious back and forth, and with both having a general disregard for things like casualties, it would prove to be a bloody affair. The bodies left in their wake stacking up miles high because Homelander doesn't practically care about who dies, while he gets what he wants and Omni-Man understands the sacrifices needed to win.
Get in the oven or your family goes in with you.
I do love your mother, but she's more like a pet to me.
The Invincible series is quite bloody after all, so it isn't like either has an issue getting their hands dirty. I believe a straight slugfest would see them absolutely leveling whatever city they were about to be fighting in, whether it's New York, LA, or wherever really. Omni-Man's superior strength and durability over that of John would keep him at the advantage with Homelander consistently on the backstep. Think back to something like Homelander versus Soldier Boy, though Homelander would manage to surprise Omni-Man with a trick or two. While Viltrumites can withstand extreme heat, they aren't immune to extreme heat, and Homelander provides the heat. Homelander has used his heat vision to decimate humans, and in doing so, he's even managed to almost crack or possibly melt concrete. If Omni-Man engaged this fight without any knowledge of Homelander's heat vision, there's a clear tool for Homelander to try and stop Viltrum's true ruler. Realistically, even if Homelander could manage to put his heat vision to use, there's no telling how long Nolan could just tank the heat. Thrag and Mark fought within the sun for a long period of time before enough really became enough. But in the case of heat vision, it would be a concentrated blast on one specific part of Omni-Man's body, so it is a change in variables. I do believe it would be enough to stagger or harm Nolan. However, with Nolan's feats, it isn't hard to think he could simply tank any kind of optic blast his opponent could muster. Even if it hurts like being burned alive, Nolan has been through worse. With Homelander's real ace in the hole off the table, it all comes down to the facts. Omni-Man seamlessly shoved his hand through another durable and strong hero in the realm of the immortal. He absorbed devastating blows from the Guardians of the Globe, a total of 7 strong characters who were supposed to be the Invincible world's premier heroes. In his story, issues only really arose when faced with other Viltrumites such as Conquest or Thrag. His strength is respectable and undeniable. When push comes to shove, there's no real doubt that Omni-Man would have every means possible to rip the Homelander in half, giving the win to Omni-Man in a clean fight. Assuming John doesn't have the durability to withstand something like that. Considering he hasn't come across people really much stronger than him, at worst, they've been on par. But Omni-Man would win, though Homelander don't always fight clean. Let's take a look at that kind of scenario. Homelander versus Omni-Man in a fight where everything is on the table is a very interesting prospect. In a perfect world, Homelander would approach this sort of fight flanked by the Seven when it was its most dominant.
He's not alone.
What? Can't let you guys have all the fun.
I'm talking about Homelander, Black Noir, A-Train, Lamplighter, Queen Maeve, Translucent, and the Deep lineup, when the 7 was seemingly considered untouchable. If this was the case, there would be a 7-on-1 fight in the Homelander's attempt to win, something that comes across more in line with whatever he would have done, instead of some fair fight. But does it get him the win? The answer may surprise you. If Omni-Man's battle with the Guardians of the Globe is anything to go on, or his battles with the Viltrumites on Thraxon, numbers are not something that he sweats, especially in a scenario like this where he wouldn't have anything else to focus on but the fight. Nolan's approach in fights is much more methodical than the bloodlustful and ego-filled 7. He would more than likely assess the kind of issues and threats he's faced within a situation where he's outnumbered, and the fight would go according to that. Luckily for him, this is a group that he may find quite familiar. What the 7 has in common with the Guardians of the Globe is that they are in many ways homages to various Avengers or Justice Leaguers, so there isn't much reason to believe they would fare too better than their Guardians counterparts. Deep would most likely be obliterated in an instant, Lamplighter and Translucent soon to follow. Black Noir would do a fine enough job trying to avoid the vicious Viltrumite, but he wouldn't fare too much better, leaving what's more realistically A-Train and Maeve to back up Homelander, and even that wouldn't be enough. If Maeve can't exactly hurt Homelander, she wouldn't stand against Omni-Man all too well.
Now, Maeve, we have bigger fish.
I don't.
I said no.
A-Train could achieve some damage thanks to his speed, but all too well have we seen how speedsters line up to him. Omni-Man would obliterate the 7 and then by the end kill Homelander all the same. Whether through a simple splitting of John's body or chucking him into space, there is no real reason to believe Homelander has a chance. Could there be a scenario where Homelander even has a fighting chance? Realistically, the best possible way for Homelander to have an odds-on chance would be if he had every situation working out in his favor. If somehow they had all managed to attack and weaken Omni-Man to give Homelander a chance to make a play on him. There's also the possibility of a world where this inter-story crossover saw Homelander have a chance at grasping some of Omni-Man's weaknesses, maybe taking hold of something like Ragnar and toppling him, or trying to take advantage of Omni-Man's weaknesses to loud noises. When it's all said and done though, those aren't realistic in this fight, and Homelander doesn't have a fighting chance. Omni-Man beats Homelander, and it isn't even close. Like the video and want to see more? Click on the link above.